They need Greenland for national security. I think it's one from the last couple of days. I hadn't seen it before, or I hadn't seen the extended version before. He explains some other things about ownership. It's necessary, according to Trump. And so I find it interesting. And in response, NATO is sending troops to Greenland to undermine, like NATO is definitely really, really tight right now. Everything's going really well in NATO. Canada doesn't pay its dues, and it seems like NATO's falling apart because Trump wants to take Greenland and NATO doesn't want him to take Greenland. It seems like NATO are the baddies. It really does. And the G7 seem like the baddies too. And like, feels like Carney's a baddie and Starmer's a baddie, and all of these people seem like we're on the wrong side. Those people we're fighting didn't make us put the skull and crossbones on our outfits here, right? Like, it seems like we are the ones acting against the basic values of the West, not Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's acting in the best interest of the United States, and I can't fault him. Sometimes Canada comes out on the kind of crap end of it, right? It's not as good a deal as we had before, but I can't fault Trump for that. And we're not behaving properly. We're not doing things. We're not operating in good faith. We're not defending Western democracies or Western culture or society. Instead, we're importing the Middle East and creating laws that make it so white men can't be hired for a whole bunch of government jobs or school jobs or all sorts of other things. And it's wild. It's absolutely wild to watch. And so I can't blame Trump when he puts America first and puts countries who act like Canada's acting on notice. I just wish our idiot leaders would realize that they're the reason we're getting put on notice. Massive numbers of Albertans showing up to the independence petition to sign the independence petition. I've got video of it. 3,500 to 5,000 people lined up waiting to sign these petitions. It's crazy. Every newborn calf needs to be registered in Alberta. So they want to stamp down anybody's ability to farm beef or anything like that. And Alberta is pushing back. They're saying, no mas, guys. Like, we've met this guy named Donald Trump, and swoon. Damning post about Zelensky from one of the members of the Ukrainian parliament. He's alleging that Zelensky's having him tortured, and they're looking to find him and bring him back to Ukraine. I think he's in the United Kingdom right now. Bring him back to Ukraine to kill him or torture him more. And so that's pretty terrible, right? So things are leaking out of Ukraine that are blowing up the corruption in a very public way. We'll see. Chrystia Freeland's, I'm sure, not involved. UK, Australia, and Canada are working together to ban X. Tim Walz is set to resign, so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we got to start with X. And Off Guardian says, this is the game. Usually I'd leave this for some punch moment, but I want everybody to understand the game that they're actually playing. It's art of the deal used on us, right? They ask for something way more than they know they're going to get. They can't get what they're asking for. They can't ban X. It's too powerful. They know that. So what they're doing is asking for far more than they want, and then they'll settle for less. What's the goal? Off Guardian lays it bare. They say they don't want to ban Twitter, and the moral panic around so-called indecent images is entirely manufactured. And the indecent images, that whole thing being talked about is because Grok creates, if you take a picture of me and you ask Grok to put me in a bathing suit, Grok will put me in a bathing suit. And they've done that to Keir Starmer, and they've done that to female members of parliament, they being the citizens of England or the citizens of the world, people on Twitter and X. And the MPs are saying this is gross, this is ludicrous. I think there was an instance where Grok put a child in a bathing suit, but then the Grok engineers fixed that. So it is a very interesting justification for removing X, right? And instead of saying, remove Grok or disable Grok or whatever it is, remove the whole X platform. It seems like an overreaction. Anyway, that's the justification. They don't want to ban Twitter. The moral panic around the indecent images is manufactured. What they want is for every social media account to be linked to a verified digital identity and to permanently end online anonymity. And that will be the new law which solves this problem. So they're going to back off from banning X, and they'll say, okay, if everybody on X is a human person who we can tell is a human person, by this digital ID, then you can have your X, you can have your evil AI thing if you want it, right? And so that's what I think that they're doing here, and that's what I think the game is. Although there are arguments to be made, and Ian Miles Chong brings us the other side. He says Britain is only trying to ban X because its existence as a platform for Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson, Liz Truss, and others poses a threat to Labour and the Liberal Democrats. They want a permanent regime, and the best way to do it is to silence the opposition. I think it's a poor strategy because people have VPNs, and if they make VPNs illegal, then there's going to be all sorts of other things that are going to, they show their hand. The more they try and crack down on free speech, the more they lose control. And they think that if they crack down on free speech, they'll regain control, but they don't. They lose more control. So it's interesting that we're already at this stage. It's a losing game, and they're on the losing side. Basil the Great says, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney in open talks with Keir Starmer to potentially ban X. Working together would make a bloc more effective, is the quote from the article, and I believe it's being reported by the Times. Government ministers are currently working out how to justify the bloc in law. We are ruled over by fascists, says Basil the Great. And another one from Basil the Great talking about the same article, Starmer rallies international support. The international support is Canada and Australia, both globalist-infested poop holes. Basil says, breaking Keir Starmer working with Canada and Australia to implement X-ban. Ministers believe it will, quote, send a powerful message to Elon Musk if countries do it together. Canada, Australia, UK, the left are tyrants. Yep. Yes. We knew that, though. Even Evan says, is responding to Politics UK. Politics UK says the government is working with Canada and Australia to launch a coordinated ban on X over Grok. Ministers believe it will send a powerful message to Elon Musk if countries do it together. And that's interesting. Evan says it would require it would be a diplomatic disaster if Canada were to do this while we are still trying to resolve the trade deal with the United States. I hope it isn't true. So, yeah. We're in a precarious position. The USMCA needs to be renegotiated, and we're positioning ourselves closer to China as the United States is cutting off cheap oil from Venezuela, things like that, and that's having an impact in China, and Canada's aligning with China instead of aligning with the United States. Stupid, in my opinion, but our leadership, well, also stupid, in my opinion. Stevens responding to Evan Solomon, who says, no, we're not talking about banning X. He says, contrary to media reports 8 hours ago, Canada is not considering a ban of X. So Canada's not going to do this, everybody. Don't worry. Mark Carney's just talking with Australia and the United Kingdom, and he just said how much he likes the idea of banning X. He didn't say we were going to ban X. Great. Steven says, this is true until it isn't. You haven't said that your officials aren't discussing it at all. Your government's track record is shaky on these grounds, manipulating Meta and Google into protection fees to retain market access, shaping YouTube's algorithm as a soft ban on speech. Yep, and shaping YouTube's algorithm is putting it very kindly. I keep breaking their algorithm as well. I think they have me pegged at something like 700, but people keep going. I think the thing works like this, and the reason I think I keep breaking it is because people go directly to my page, but I think it works like this. The algorithm no longer shows me after I get a certain amount of views. So after I get a certain amount of views, and I think it was something like 500 or 600, the algorithm would stop showing me, but it would count views that people go directly to my page or whatever. And so I don't know, I'm getting like 1,000 views a day now, which is more than I usually get. It'll go back to 700. That's usually kind of where I land, 750. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but yes, they are absolutely banning YouTube. I don't get offered any algorithmic anything like that. The same views that I get now results in much less pay than the same views almost 10 years ago now. I started in 2018. Wild and crazy times. So it's pretty incredible how YouTube has changed just in the short time I've been doing this. And I do think 8 years is a relatively short time. Anyway, Moriarty says, attempting to ban X is a ludicrous idea. It shows that they're losing control and are extremely frightened of mass non-compliance. Plus, a VPN is so easy to get. Lots of people will have VPNs, but if X is banned, then politicians won't be posting on X by and large. They'll be posting on other platforms. So that's going to be a pain in the ass. I think they might try it. I think they still might try it. I don't think it'll last because I think Trump and Elon Musk will move to, like, Elon Musk will make legal complaints in the countries of the ban, and then Trump will put pressure through various leverage points, and Trump has a lot of leverage points, and it won't last. So all of that said, if the Canadian government or whatever decides that X is person non grata, they may stop public places or whatever posting on X. But the reality is, it's one of the most effective social medias still out there, even though it is censored, and it is censored. Elon Musk is responding to Reem Ibrahim, and Reem says, what if Grok can put people in bikinis? So can Photoshop, so can millions of other apps already. This isn't a new problem, it's just a new tool. And Elon Musk says, yep. And that's the point I was making yesterday. Like, there are far worse apps out there. There are far worse things out there that can do way more creepy things. And like going after Grok, it's weak sauce. Steve says this whole Grok thing has gone the usual left-wing nuts route. I agree, Grok should not redress anyone, but it does not create child porn. It does not distribute child porn. If you need to ban a platform that will show children in bikinis, you need to start with Google, because, that's a thing. And yeah, right? Point exactly the same as I was trying to make yesterday. These things exist and are way worse already. Harrison Faulkner is responding to the UK trying to ban X, and he says banning X in Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom will almost certainly trigger widespread social unrest in the short term and destroy any remaining societal trust in government. It would crush any illusion of freedom being some sort of cornerstone of our national identities. China bans Western social media on ideological grounds and only allows its citizens to use state-approved social apps. This would be the exact same thing. X is too big, too powerful, and far too important for a democratic government to ban. Justifying it in law will be a sticking point, will be difficult, because free expression is enshrined, and they're going to say, well, you're allowed to say whatever you want. You're not allowed to use hateful platforms like X to say it, though, right? And so they're saying, we're not even attacking free expression. You can say anything you want. You're just not allowed to say it on X, because X is bad for some reason, and that won't fly because I don't know. I don't know if that legal justification will fly, but I think that's the crux of their legal argument. So we'll see. Joe says this will backfire badly for Britain. Every UK official I know, even at the UK embassy in Washington, D.C., fails to appreciate how critical free speech is to the United States government. The recent UK-US trade deal, which saved thousands of Land Rover jobs, will be at risk, and much more. And I'm sure Trump would welcome Land Rover and Rolls-Royce and a whole bunch of other companies into the United States. But they're trying to block Trump out. They're trying to isolate Trump, and they're trying to make it so that the United States feels financial pressure for daring to defy the globalists. This has happened before, and it ended in a world war. Two, actually. Liz says, what a surprise. The international support here amounts to Australia and Canada, two other countries run by censorious, failing left-wing leadership. They are no match for Musk and Trump. So do you think Trump and Musk have an idea of how they're going to fight this? I would imagine they would have seen this coming, right? So Steve again says, I joked yesterday. He's responding to Audrey. Audrey says, I'm a lawful free speech advocate. Lawful free speech? What's lawful free speech? Child porn isn't free speech. It's criminality. Okay. Crosses the line into criminal. And that's not free speech. You can't threaten somebody. You can't produce child pornography. That's not free speech. Fair. Okay. That's a fair thing. X is not above the law. But it's not creating those things. I joked yesterday that bikini pictures would go from sexually explicit to vile porn within a week, and it didn't even take a day. So they're trying to conflate the Grok bikini pictures into child porn, when these people will hand a child over to the medical pharmacare system and have their, quote, sex changed without a second thought. They want to protect children from having their picture and put in Grok and change to wearing a bikini. I mean, I don't want kids sexualized either at all, but this seems a stretch, right? Like, and you care about children? No, you don't. You really, really don't. I don't believe you, right? Like, because your actions imply that you don't care about children. Your actions with regards to children imply that late-term abortions or post-birth abortions, that's just fine, right? Like, it seems like you don't like children very much. And claiming that you do to protect them online in order to pass your speech laws, I'm not buying it, right? I'm not buying it. Your actions have betrayed your intent. Kelly is responding to BBC Breakfast. BBC Breakfast is talking about this whole thing. Ofcom does have the power to temporarily take down X. temporarily take down X. That's less power than I thought yesterday. Temporarily take down X. I think that's a power that should be used given the seriousness of the issue. It would make a martyr of X. Everybody would be X. We are all X now, right? Like this is a bad move. If you're on a chessboard watching two opponents play chess, one of them is a pigeon and one of them's Elon Musk, right? And like the pigeon's losing badly and it doesn't know and it doesn't care. And so it's so weird. It's such a weird thing because the strategy's terrible. We'll temporarily ban X and piss everybody off a lot. Yeah, good job, everybody. We're really winning now. What? It doesn't make any sense. So the strategy is awful, and we'll see. I don't think they're going to convince the public that X is dangerous, right? Like I don't think they're going to succeed in that. But I've been surprised before. I thought anti-vax was the stupidest insult I've ever heard. I said, "Are you being serious right now? Like, you're kidding, right?" And then they really were serious, and I still thought it was a stupid insult. Chris says, sadly, Australia will likely lose X and Twitter. There's little doubt about it. I still think there's doubt about that. Governments that seek to control their population cannot tolerate platforms like this as it threatens their ability to shape and manipulate public opinion. Dark times ahead. So yeah, here's a little bit of chat about this, although I want to move on. They're talking about Australia and free speech and banning X. Darren of Plymouth says, if Starmer and company really care about women and children's safety, they would deal with the grooming gangs, introduce and enforce longer sentences for pedophiles, stop the boat people coming in, ban pornography, enact better security in our schools. Preventing people from accessing X is all about narrative control and digital ID. Everything else is a lie, right? There's a long laundry list of other things that are much more important to deal with according to the general public. If you come out and say, general public, we've solved a problem, and the general public says, yay, what problem did you solve? And they say, we've banned X, you're now safer. People are going to be pissed. There's immigration issues. We can't access healthcare that we pay through the nose for. We can't. Driving around the city's a nightmare. They randomly put up 40-kilometer-an-hour signs on 4-lane roads and expect us to, comply all of a sudden? Are you kidding me? So, like, there are other issues that we're dealing with. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine for a foreign war. We're sending billions of dollars to other places around the world for foreign wars and foreign conflicts, et cetera, et cetera. And there is absolutely no justification for this, and we get nothing for this, and yet still we're being told that you're solving problems when you do anything but solve problems, and we're supposed to celebrate? No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. Pippa says, okay, so if I've got this straight, a platform that has hundreds of millions of genuine users should be closed down because they can't stop all of the idiots who misuse it. But when a national TV broadcaster deliberately alters footage to influence the outcome of an election, that's a one-off mistake, and to even call for them to be closed down is an intolerable threat to democracy. I wonder what the difference could be. One's X, right? Basil again says, Keir Starmer has been asked to ban the Muslim Brotherhood, cousin marriage, medical experiments on children, halal slaughter. They came up with a new medical experiment to run on children. Well, we were not sure about these puberty blocker things. We need to test more kids about it. Halal slaughter. He said no to banning all of them. He said, nope, we've got to let these things go through. This is cultural. We have to let this happen. Instead, he wants to ban X. We all know why. Yes, we do know why, and they'll fail, I think. Here's Nick Shirley, and he's talking, this is more talking about fraud. Maybe I'll move this down to the fraud section here. We're going to move that down there because we got to keep going on. I want to tell you about Greenland, and I've got just enough time, so we'll come back to Nick Shirley later in the show. Here is Donald Trump talking about Greenland, and he's talking about we need Greenland for national security. I showed you the map. I think that he makes a good argument here, and I think he makes an even better argument in the longer clip. So here's Trump with his dancing happy Trump pin. Here we go.
How much money are you thinking of giving people in Greenland to get them on board with a possible U.S.
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland. And we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too, I have to tell you, and they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also. But we need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, there are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger, there are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way. Please, go ahead, ma'am.
Mr. President, why is it so important to you to own it when you have a military presence there, which you could expand to affect the security?
Because when we own it, we defend it. You don't defend leases the same way. You have to own it. And, you know, with a nation, look at what happened with Obama, with that horrible deal they made with Iran. It was a short-term deal. It was like a 9-year deal. Countries can't make 9-year deals or even 100-year deals. Countries have to have ownership. And you defend ownership, you don't defend leases. And we'll have to defend Greenland. If we don't do it, China or Russia will. It's not going to happen. We are not going to have, and I like China, I like Russia, I love the people of China, I love the people of Russia. I get along very well with President Putin, but I'm very disappointed in him. I get along very well with President Xi. I'm going to go over to China in April, but I don't want them as a neighbor in Greenland. Not going to happen. And by the way, and NATO's got to understand that. I'm all for NATO. I saved NATO. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have a NATO right now. But we're not going to allow Russia or China to occupy Greenland, and that's what's going to happen if we don't.
Right. So we could do it the easy way, but we could also do it the hard way. So NATO says, let's do it the hard way, Mr. President. We like the hard way, Mr. President. Britain is broken. Says, breaking, it is being reported that Keir Starmer, along with the rest of NATO, are ready to send troops to Greenland to fight against the U.S. forces. Not only has Keir Starmer ruined the United States and UK's special relationship, he is now flirting with war with America. Okay, so the globalist plan is being laid bare. What do we need to do? Isolate and go to war against Trump. That's what they want. Jim Ferguson says Europe is now moving troops into Greenland right after President Trump said the quiet part out loud. President Trump warned the world that Greenland is a U.S. national security asset. He said Europe has lost control of its own borders, its energy, and its strategic territories. Now Britain, Germany, and France are reportedly holding talks about deploying forces to Greenland. This is not a coincidence. This is containment. So Mark Carney going and opening a consulate there the other day was not enough to deter Donald Trump. Donald Trump said, what? Who did what now? Next question. But here they are deploying troops. You gotta make sure that the U.S. doesn't go take Greenland because NATO has to fight against the U.S. Weird, right? Greenland controls Arctic shipping lanes, U.S. military warning systems, rare earth minerals needed for AI weapons and satellites, the northern gate of North America. Trump is telling the truth and that the globalists hate. Whoever controls Greenland controls the future balance of power. So what did Europe do? They rushed to NATO lock-it before Washington can act. This is the same playbook used in Ukraine, Kosovo, and Taiwan. Put foreign troops on the ground, make the territory untouchable, freeze the status quo. They are trying to box Trump in because if the U.S. secures Greenland, the globalist cartel loses control of the Arctic, the minerals, and the choke points of the next world economy. Trump didn't start this fight. He exposed it. I feel like that's an accurate assessment of what's going on. The other thing is this is a whole breakdown of, I've been talking about how there was no regime change in Venezuela and there was a deal made and the deal was executed, and the reason Maduro is in the United States is to turn state's evidence against the global cabal of people that Trump wants to take down in exchange for him not living the rest of his life or dying as a martyr to the cause of Venezuela or the cause of communism or whatever it is, right? And so, which is what I heard they were trying to do to him with his Cuban guards were trying to do to him. So, and who knows? Take it with a grain of salt, right? Could be wrong. But this is a whole breakdown talking about how there is a, continuation of government, COG, continuation of government plan in effect in Venezuela right now. And the plan was written by Maduro and his aides and the people around him. And it's being activated and done right now. So interesting stuff coming up in the rest of the show. If you want the whole show, head over to CanadaPoly.com. If not, that's okay. I will be around tomorrow and for the rest